What's up, gang? So I got an idea the other day and I thought, wait a minute, I think I can do this with focus. And so I'm going to make a video of me trying this idea out with focus. We'll see if we can do it, okay? So the idea is that the idea is that we can make a homepage that looks more like the kind of homepage we see on business websites. You know, just a homepage that does what we want, and not a homepage that's like based on a blog style of page presentation. And I'll explain that more in just a moment. But the deal is, the way WordPress themes have worked forever, and the way like default WordPress content works, it gets us thinking in very specific ways, and ways that can be hard to unthink so that we can actually see the picture clearly to do what we want. So for example, we're looking at a static homepage on this little test site I've got. So there's like a blog on here. You know, here's what you used to with a blog. We got a title, and then a byline, and then a featured image, and then some blog content, and then here's another post, yada, yada, yada. That's a blog. Nobody really does this anymore. So on the homepage, though, we've still got we don't have a byline because that's kind of goofy for a homepage, but we do have like the title. So it makes sense to have a title, I guess, but the way this is done is kind of limiting. So let's go look in the interface here. Let's go find this page. And it's somewhere, static homepage. There it is. All right, we'll look at this. So here we enter the title there, and that's what appears here. And then we got our content, and that's what appears here. But this isn't exactly the homepage style that, this isn't the homepage style that everyone makes. Like if you're an agency or a developer or you have a business website, this is not really what you want on your homepage. Let me show you something a little more appropriate. So like on DIYthemes.com, it's not that fancy, but I have like a nav bar at the top. And then I have this big full width chunk of color called bleed that is the intro section to my homepage. So it's like a section that focuses your attention and, you know, tells you something, like maybe it introduces a product, maybe it introduces a big idea, maybe it introduces your business, whatever. But it is a clear, you know, a big break, a big block of color that conveys some idea. And then when that chunk ends, we know, hey, this is a different little topic down here, this is a different idea, and there's, you know, a different presentation there. But this is not that. And this is a homepage. So but if I want to build something like this right now, I've got to do a little bit of trickery here to make that work. And I thought, geez, that needs to be easy. Like focus users need to be able to do this, no problem. Like you should be able to select a couple options, say, hey, this is how I want to run my site. And then boom, you should be able to make something like this from the comfort of the content editor. So I figured out how to do that with Focus. It's not complicated. You can do this right now, but I'm going to actually roll out a Focus update where this is even easier. So let's take a look at how we can make a homepage that we actually want, a homepage that does, you know, behaves and looks how we want with Focus. All right, it's easy. So like I said, we're running a static homepage, but we're not going to run this one. We're going to choose a different one. So the first thing we want to do is go in here to our settings, and we go to reading. Who knows why it's organized this way? I have so many issues with the way WordPress works and the way stuff is organized. But to change your homepage, we go into this obscure setting for reading. And then we've got this option here. You want a static homepage. We don't want to display posts because no, it's a blog. Nobody does blogs. So we're going to make our homepage a static homepage. And then we're going to choose this little page I created. It's the new homepage style test. And then we're going to save it. All right. Now let's go into that page. Here's our page. So I've got some content here for this new style homepage I went ahead and created. And what I went ahead and did is I added a focus design feature called bleed. It's a content feature. You can add that using this button right here. So you select the content that you want to turn into a bleed, you click this button, and you can add the bleed. And it adds this shortcode stuff around the content that you've specified to be a bleed. But what's notable here is that the first thing that displays in my content here is a bleed, okay? So let's go look at our homepage real quick and see what it looks like with this one selected. All right, so we've got the title here. It looks a little wonky. There's a lot of white space here. And then we've got this bleed and then the rest of the content. We can see these big chunks of color that go across the screen. So, you know, if we're in the middle of the scroll, this is looking okay. It looks a little bit like Neapolitan ice cream. And then that looks okay, but the top, this is wonky, this is weird. Well, within Focus, let's go into our content and display option. So we're going down to thesis here. We're going to go to content and display. Under pages and posts, and then pages, and then front page, you can select how you want your front page headline and byline to display. So this is the headline. Right now it's headline only. Let's get rid of the whole thing. We're going to select no headline or byline. I'm going to hit this save button. Let's go look at that now. Boom, now there's no headline or byline. Now we have close to what we want. We've got this unsightly white space here, but the first thing that appears in our content now, we don't have the title. That title is no longer present, but we can use this text, which is a heading 1 here in our content. We can use that to serve as a title. Nothing wrong with that. So we've got a title, we've got everything we need. We just need this bleed to be the first thing here and get rid of this unsightly white space gap. And then we have a pretty cool page. And I'll just point out real quick some aspects of this page that are neat. I've got a heading 1 here, then I've got a caption that follows it. A caption after a heading is pretty cool, just an interesting look, and it gets a color that complements the bleed that you use, which is really neat. Then I got this little break here, a normal text section with the white background. That's how the whole site is, white background with a drop cap. Then we've got another bleed with a pink background, and again, it's got a complementary caption color. We got a video, a YouTube video. I use the YouTube box to embed this video in a way that doesn't slow down the page load at all. And I've made it big, and I'll show you how I did that here at the end. But I got a big video in here. Got a little call to action with a button. And then we got another bleed after that pink bleed that's at the bottom of the page. And again, this got the complementary color in there using the caption. And Focus is smart. It recognizes if you have placed a bleed in your content as the last thing. When you do that, it gets rid of white space between the bottom of the content and the footer. So now all we need is for Focus to be smart and say, hey, if the bleed is first, let's get rid of this white space up here. So the way I'll do this for now, just to demonstrate this concept, I'm going to use custom CSS to do it. When I add this feature to Focus, you're not going to have to do this, okay? So I just want to make it clear, this is going to seem unsightly. You're not going to like this, probably, if you don't like messing with custom CSS. It's simple, but you're not going to have to do this, is the point, okay? But I'm doing that here just to demonstrate this for you guys. So let's say it's in the content, and then we've got the post box. And let's see, I think we want, if post box is the first child, maybe, let's see. Yeah, so post box here. So we'll do this too. We'll do .content. So we'll say if it's the first post box, because we don't want any adverse effects on other templates. And then post content, and if a bleed is the first thing in the post content. All right. Then we're going to give this a top margin, or we're going to get rid of the top margin. Now, I know that there is an X2 of spacing. That's a spacing unit defined in Focus. I know that that's how much there is, but there's also a padding that is applied to the content area. So the content area is this. You see that green bar that indicates the padding that exists at the top of the content. That is that value is fed by the design options. Right now it's X2, but if we use that value directly, and this is just for educational purposes, if we use that value directly, p content top, you can see it says X2. If we use that value directly, no matter if you change that in the future, this bleed will always end up snug at the top of the page. So we're going to give it a -1, and it's p content top. So we're going to do that. Let's see if that works. Okay, there it is, but there's still a little bit of an extra border there, and I forgot to remove the border. So we're going to say border top 0. Bleeds normally have a border on top, but if it's first, it needs to be removed. So now with that removed, look at this. Look at this. I've got a home page where the first thing is a bleed, and I got that big chunk right across the top. I didn't have to do anything special, no custom PHP code, no crazy stuff, no hooks, filters, no added stuff. I was just able to do that with the editor. And, I've got chunks of color, big sections that go all the way down the page, all the unsightly white space is removed. Like, this is a perfectly snug page. This is a great page. This is a great page. Let's do one thing real quick. Let's go to the focus, content, and display options and change this to focus mode. Right now it's in readability mode, and that squishes everything over to the left. It's good for readability. It gets a nice, strong left side anchor on the design. But, for a homepage, we generally kind of like the stuff in the middle. So we're going to change the way this thing works to focus mode. And boom, now it's all in the middle. This caption should be in the middle. I'm going to have to add that to focus. It will be when you get the update. That's because this is an H1, a heading 1. We typically don't use that inside content. If you serve the title, which we removed, the title gets the H1, then everything else after that gets H2, H3, H4. It follows a hierarchy. So normally we wouldn't have an H1. That's why the content or the caption isn't pre-configured to do the right thing. Like with an H2, see, it's centered. But I'm going to have to add that because now I'm thinking, let's break that mold. Let's not worry about the title. Let's not worry about having that. Let's give you guys the tools you need to be able to create stuff from within the editor and get like a WYSIWYG, total WYSIWYG output. What you see is what you get. What you create is what happens on the page. That seems like a good way to move forward. So that'll be centered, no big deal right now. But if we scroll down the page, this is a good looking page already. This could be centered. Let's go in and do that real quick, just because we can. So we'll do the new homepage style test. We'll find that button. Here it is. Let's just highlight that and click center. Actually, we don't want to click center like that. We want to undo that. How can I undo that? Undo that. We got to use focus centering because it centers it the right way. Yeah. Let's update. Check our page. That button's in the middle now. I like that. You know what, though? I want that button to be yellow. Let's change the button to yellow real quick. We'll highlight it. We'll go to the button styles, and we'll change it to an update button. Is it done? We had to deselect the action button. Is it still an update button? I don't think it is. We're going to select just the update button now. There we go. And then we'll save it. And now check it out. And there we go. It's maybe a little more visible. Anyhow, there it is. We've got a much nicer, like this is the kind of homepage I think about now. I don't think about having the big white space at the top with a headline and byline. That's ridiculous for a homepage. This is what we want to see. And now the last thing I said I was going to return to this video and show you how I did this. So so normally if you have a YouTube video, you would just, and you wanted to embed it in your content, you would just paste the URL of the video. Like you would just paste it right here. Whatever, youtube.com equals whatever the ID of the video is. You would just paste that in there and let it rip. Well, that results in a slow page. Videos take about 1.5, they add about 1.2 to 1.5 seconds of loading time on the page. That is not going to cut it, gang. We need better performance than that. That's why DIY Themes offers something called the YouTube box. It's a real cheap one-time payment add-on. So you add this, you add the YouTube box to your Focus-powered site, or just CSIS-powered. You don't even have to use Focus, but you should be using Focus. And you do this little short code, and you say YouTube, and then you say the ID of the video that you want to display. And if you just do that, we'll get rid of this real quick. You can see what the video is going to look like. I'm going to update. This. And the video is the same width as your content. When I have a page like this cool homepage, I want that video to be big. Let's blast that thing out of there. Let's use the total usable width of our layout. And the way we do that is we add this little extra parameter here. We say wrap equals extend. Focus has this extend capability. Other themes do not. And it will blast that video out to the sides of the content and give you a little bit more of a canvas there. Now I got a big, bold video here. And when the user clicks on this, it will actually load the video. That's how you save in the loading time and performance. And then they will be able to play the video. And of course, I added a caption after the video. If you're going to include big images or captions on your pages, or big images or videos on your pages, you should always use a caption. It's a highly visible element. It's a way to reinforce points, to recapture attention, a way to continue to make your sale as you move down the page. So there it is. That's how you can do the style of homepage you want with focus. And it's really easy. And like I said, you can do it from the comfort of the editor. All you have to do is make sure you're running a static homepage, which I showed you in WordPress. And then you're going to go into the content and display options and make sure that your front page headline and byline are turned off. You don't want to display those. As soon as you do that, if you create content and your homepage content and a bleed is the first thing you put in there, this is what's going to happen with the new version Focus that comes out soon. Okay, so this is going to be possible. It's already possible. I just showed you how it's already possible with that little custom CSS that I added. So you can do it right now if you wanted. Copy that to your own environment. But this is all going to just work with the next version of Focus. I'm excited about this. So this is the kind of pages we want to make. We got to get out of that. I have to unthink this. You guys maybe need to unthink this stuff, but we want to stop doing pages, that have the title and byline up here. We don't have to rely on that. It works for, it works for blogs and makes sense for blogs. But again, we don't really build blogs anymore. Nobody's really doing that. It might be part of your website, but really for most pages, not even just the homepage. If I create a new page, I kind of want to be able to do this now and not really worry about the headline and byline and stuff, right? Interesting new little shift in the thinking and the way we kind of approach our templates and the way we approach building pages. But the idea is that you can use the editor like you would a word processor, and you just have more formatting features with Focus than you would have with a normal word processor, and you can achieve these amazing outcomes that look awesome just from the comfort of the editor. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and stay tuned for that Focus update coming soon.